Hello, everybody, and welcome to another keynote presentation uh, here in our series. And I am Peter Goldstein, founder and chief synergy officer for We Did It Health, where we bring you the Thrive and Inspire community, which is all focused on how do we become more effective ambassadors for the vegan and whole food plant-based movements. So that's our work. I'm Peter Goldstein, and we have one of these events every Saturday. If you're watching on YouTube, there's lots of other great recordings for you to also check out. And then please join us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, join our Facebook groups, and like our page. And if you're plant-based and you haven't done it yet, please go to wedidit.health and answer the simple one-question survey that shows how you've improved your health by changing lifestyles. So our mission is to support ambassadors at being more effective, being compassionate, planting seeds. And that's what it takes is we all plant seeds, and the more seeds we plant, the closer we get to what our vision is, and that's for a healthy, happy, well-fed vegan world. So with that, I would like to welcome Anne Piotrowski, who's a social worker and a therapist, and she will tell you more about her work. And I want to make sure that I don't misrepresent her because there's licensing involved in what she does and everything else. But she has an amazing message and an amazing approach to spreading the word about being plant-based. So with that, welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm so excited to be here, and welcome to everybody who's either live or watching this at your leisure. So my name is Anne. I'm actually an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, very similar to social work, but kind of like go hand in hand, doing similar work, but just to be clear. So I do have a presentation today entitled Compassionate Disagreement. It's kind of my specialty, and I'll get into that right now. So Peter, do I share that? You share that. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to go to the first slide here. So I'm going to tell you why I'm here, like what brought me to this point of being here in front of you lovely people talking. So I am a counselor and a vegan advocate. And what I really love to do is talk about veganism, but in a way that prioritizes connection. When I first went vegan, I anticipated that there would be a learning curve for learning how to nourish myself. But what I didn't anticipate at the time, and maybe this was a bit naive of me, is that this transition in my life would touch upon relationships and communication and connection, that I would feel judged and people would feel judged by me, and that might create a bit of friction in the relationships. And I didn't really understand what was happening at that time. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I took a lot of things personally. And through those mistakes and through that experience, I set out to learn what was happening, what mechanisms were at play, and how I could resolve some of these issues. As I did that for myself, eventually what I did was decide to go market test it and go out and do a table and invite people into a conversation with me, so I could see if this approach that I had been developing in my personal life worked out in the world. So I think you can see my t-shirt that says, let's see, hello, how about a conversation with a friendly vegan? So that's what I did. I went out to a peace fair, and I stood at a table, and I didn't have my t-shirt at that time. It was my first table, and I didn't have that, but I had a sign that said this message. And I had many, many people who walked by. Many people just walked right by, but many people stopped and talked to me. And the vast majority of them were not vegan, but they were either curious about something. They wanted to know what I was doing there. My table was definitely different than the other tables. I wasn't selling anything. There was really nothing on my table except my sign. And they wanted to know, and I was able to kind of test this out over years. So I've been vegan since 2012, and my first table was in 2016. what I ended up trying to do, or what I do now, is I still do the tables, although a lot of that moved to a virtual space during the pandemic, and now I'm getting back into in-person tabling. That's the way I do outreach out in the non-vegan community. But I also try to support people who are plant-based or vegan to keep these important conversations going. So that's why I'm here. Now, why you're here, or why I think you're here. So I think that you're watching this and listening to me because communication is difficult. It feels awkward. It feels frustrating. It feels, at the very least, maybe unsatisfying, especially when you disagree. And you maybe, if you're vegan for the animals or for whatever, you're just a compassionate person, you really want to feel connected with other human beings. But when you feel like the woman in this picture, which happens, it's hard to muster up those kind of feelings of compassion. And another reason you might be here is that being authentic, being able to say what you believe in a real way, in an honest way, when you're the outlier, is scary. It's really scary. We want to be parts of communities. Human beings need community to thrive. So it's very natural to feel discomfort when there's some friction between what we're saying and then the social norms. Okay, so I have a little bit of a disclaimer. So if you are somebody who you have ever had that experience where, let's say, you transitioned to plant-based, and it doesn't matter whatever the reason was, but you are now plant-based or vegan, and you enter a family gathering or a friend gathering or whatever it might be, and you have felt that tension. That tension, that feeling inside of you is completely natural to feel. So my methods, I do not aim to eradicate that, because those feelings are there for a reason, and they are actually part of the process. So I don't want to eradicate something that is natural. I don't want you to numb out in order to be able to connect with people. In fact, you won't be able to connect with people if you're all numbed out. My goal is to give you some tools that can help to make these feelings manageable, so that you can feel good about engaging with people on this topic or any topic where there's disagreement, so that you can be you can be authentic and have meaningful relationships, and that you can speak up for animals or health or whatever it is that you're passionate about. So just so you know, it's still going to be uncomfortable because discomfort is part of the process. Okay. So we've all used the word compassion and heard it a million times, but just to be clear, because I use it slightly differently. So according to the dictionary, it's an awareness of suffering with a wish to relieve it. Okay. How I tweaked it a little bit for the purposes of these tools is that it involves an understanding of someone's lived experience. So understanding of someone's lived experience, understanding is often confused with agreeing with someone's decisions. Understanding how someone got to the point where they're making the decisions they make is not the same as agreeing with the decisions they're making. It's just understanding. And it comes naturally, but not automatically. So what I mean by that is that we're all born with the capacity to feel compassion. It's something that helps us feel bonded. But oftentimes when we have our ideas and somebody else has their ideas and they're telling us their ideas and we're trying to tell them our ideas, when there's that tension, sometimes we have to purposely turn our attention to compassion. So it's not automatically kicking in because our resources are otherwise focused. So we can take a moment and then purposely pursue that. So when somebody senses some compassion from us, that helps to set the tone for safety. That safety helps with connection because somebody can relax. They feel they're less likely to feel like they have to fight to be heard or fight to be understood. And instead they can feel relaxed when they sense that compassion from you. They're more likely to offer compassion to you. So connection is a basic human need. Humans do not do well in isolation. We need each other. And connection supports mutual understanding, and that supports advocacy. So really what I do is something that is using connection as an advocacy tool. I'll let that sink in a minute. Okay, so how does it work? So whatever situation you find yourself in, whether you're at a Thanksgiving gathering and you are listening to people talk about the turkey and the whatever it is, whatever it might be. Thanksgiving popped into my head because it's a particularly triggering holiday sometimes if you're plant-based. But if somebody is engaging you in, I have found, maybe you have found this, is that it's rare that I am the one to bring up the conversation, to spark the conversation. Even though you may agree with this, that vegans have a reputation for like never shutting up about veganism. However, in my experience, I don't have to bring it up. It's always somebody either making a comment or asking a question. And while I used to feel afraid when I heard some questions because I heard it as a judgment, I have learned to see any comment or question as an opportunity, because that person is bringing it up and opening up that conversation that I can then choose to step in and provide them with information, understanding, whatever it is they're seeking. So the first thing I do is I tune in. All right, I listen and I check in with myself and I notice, am I feeling like something? Am I feeling triggered? I don't have to judge it. I don't have to change it. I'm just noticing it. This is very much in the mindfulness, using mindfulness in that moment. I might need to take a deep breath. Sometimes I feel a little anxiety, or I'm touching my chest here because sometimes I feel it right here. I notice what I'm hearing. Am I hearing excuses and resistance in their question or comment? And even though that could be true, what I try to do is play with that idea a little bit in my own mind and slightly shift and see if I can hear it as a simple explanation. When I hear excuse, I'm infusing a judgment into that. When I hear resistance, I am interpreting their statement. And so I just noticed that and I shift it a tiny bit in my brain and I try to see it as it's just a simple explanation. This person is just sharing something with me. The image I often have in my mind is they're sharing like a photo album with me and they're just showing me, here's what I think, here's why I think it, here's what I believe, here's the foods I grew up on, here's why I love it, here's my comfort foods, here's how I feel when I eat these foods, and whatever it is, I look at it as them sharing some part of themselves with me. And that very small shift in my perspective can really change the whole tenor of that connection. It takes away my reactivity, or at least lessens it. Okay, so.
And I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No,
and
go ahead.
I am so sorry, everybody, but we have some static noise, and we're thinking that maybe it's your microphone or your connection. Can you please take a look at that?
Okay. I muted and unmuted. Is there anything else I can do?
And it did go away actually. So, are you using a headset? Is there another way to pick up your voice for this broadcast?
If you give me a minute, I can see about that. I can get something too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go and get something.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Is the static still happening?
Yeah, the static is still happening, and I'm sure that our team will be able to splice it together. And please go ahead and get a different
Okay.
microphone.
Give me one.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Peter, you can say something else.
okay. So everybody, I'm sorry you've all heard the static, so I'm going to speak with you for a moment, and this is an opportunity for me to talk about some of our upcoming events, and I believe it's next week. We are really thrilled to have Victoria Moran launch our February series. So as you may know, we do have monthly series. January has been all about healing relationships and having compassionate conversations. February, being Valentine's Day, is in February. Our theme for February is about loving animals, and who more fit to launch that with us, for the community, than Victoria Moran, who has been a vegan leader as perhaps the one of the most respected, honored voices for the vegan movement, and she has touched so many lives with her work. And then we're going to have other speakers. We'll be featuring Vegan FTA, and they're an amazing leader in the vegan movement. Um, uh, Linda Middlesworth. We'll be really thrilled to have Linda again, speaking to everybody about her work. And one of her passions is about factory farming and the things that go on in that probably everybody should have a sense of how horrific all that is. Bobby Spud is going to be our speaker next month too, and he has such a wonderful message about how we can help spread the vegan and plant-based message. And again, our focus in February will be about compassion and loving animals. Then after that, we'll have for March, it's going to be about communities and how important community is for all of us. And we haven't completely filled out our schedule. So if you know somebody who would be a great speaker to the topic of community, we'd love to include them. I know that our keynote, our first presentation in March, you'll want to attend, is going to be a panel of Plant Pure community pod leaders talking with us about how wonderful the pods are and how they've impacted so many lives, and how they support each other as a community. Then after that, April, Earth Day being in April, our theme will be about climate healing and environmental healing. So we'll have that in April, and we're scheduling out topics for the months. And you may have noticed that up through April we have nothing about health and human health. So May is going to be focused on aspects of the importance of being whole food plant-based for human health. So with that, I believe Anne may be ready to rejoin us. So I will bring Anne on here momentarily. Welcome back, Anne, and I hope your static is muted, and I think I still hear some.
Okay, I did a couple of things, but you still hear it?
Yeah, it's still there. I'm so sorry, everybody, but I'm not sure what we can do other than just go ahead and hope that maybe there's a way to edit it out, and for sure. And your message speaks so much louder than the background static. So
I'm so
We
sorry about that. So
yes,
what I could do is if there's not able to edit out any of that static, I can do the presentation. I can record it here, and then maybe that, and then at least we can post that on the
that's
various outlets.
that's a perfect idea. And of course, if we do it that way, or even with the current presentation, everybody please come to our Facebook groups and post questions and comments, and we'll be happy. And I'm speaking on your behalf, Anne, but I'm
Absolutely.
sure you'll be more than happy to engage and have any conversation anybody would like to have with you about any of these topics. So with that, I'm going to get off screen and let you continue. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So sorry about the static. I know I in particular am sensitive to that kind of thing. So I'm having a lot of empathy here for you. But I'll just forge ahead, and then we will do whatever we can to make it better. Okay. So I'm back to the steps. So if we can take that moment to listen, to see what we hear, to see if we can play with the idea, if we're hearing excuses or resistance, if we can shift it a little bit in our minds to hear it more as an explanation or a sharing of you. And then we can notice what's coming up for us. Take a deep breath, offer your self-compassion. Self-compassion is a big part of this, because if we are out there advocating, whether it be for health or animals or the planet, it's hard work, and we are working against a status quo, and that's sometimes it's a little scary, and it's definitely challenging. So we need to kind of create the mindset of self-compassion to take care of ourselves so that we can do this work. And then practice tolerating some discomfort, not abuse. I never want anybody to kind of get better at tolerating abuse, but just it is natural for it to be a little uncomfortable. At that point, if there is common ground, I'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards, but we can just try to find that and connect. So we're first beginning with connecting, finding common ground, and seeking to understand the person. So that sends this message of that this is a safe place to share what you believe, even if we disagree. So this helps people to relax, as I said before. Okay, so then at that point, you've listened, you've noticed, you've offered something to the person. There's some connection there. And then you can share your views with clarity. I found at the beginning I was often really editing myself, really keeping some things back because I was afraid. I was afraid to say what I really believed for fear that I would be judged or that that person would feel judged by me. So there is a way to be able to share what you believe with clarity, and then to offer an invitation to the person to listen to that or to see, could there be a different way to look at this, and see if they're on board with that. Just to look at it, not to buy into or believe what I'm saying, but to at least check that out. And I learned very early on to check my expectations. That what does it mean to have a connected or successful conversation with somebody? And if for example, if I'm at a table, to me, if someone stops at that table and talks to me, that's success. Because for every person that stops and talks to me, there are a lot that walk on by. They might glance over and be curious, but it takes just a little bit of extra something for them to come up and converse with me. So to me, that's success. I don't expect, or at least not to define it as a successful conversation, for someone to change their view right there, right then and there. I do take breaks, sometimes long ones. Sometimes if it's something specific to me, where it's something either activating or triggering to me, I can't get to a point of continuing deeply into the conversation and drumming up that compassion. So it might take me some time, and then with that time, I am talking to people about it after a conversation that didn't go as far as I would have liked. I can talk to people about it. I'm processing it. I'm looking into my inward and seeing what was it about that. And then it can happen later. Now, how does that help? I may never see that person again if it's somebody at a table. Well, because it helps for the next time, because these conversations come back around again and again and again. So it helps to improve my skills and access that compassion and be able to make that connection better next time. Okay. So, and then finding like-minded people is part of that, because I can process that with them. Okay, so why is this so hard? This is hard because the truth doesn't matter, not at first. Okay, so at first, what matters is not what is true, but what is believed to be true. So we think, feel, and act on our gut until something compelling enough comes along to challenge that. And even then, we might reject that. We probably will reject it over and over again until we don't, until we're at a certain time and place where we don't. And our gut truth happens automatically without conscious thought. It's how we make most of our decisions throughout the day. And it's driven by really old lessons. What we eat, how we behave, how we see ourselves in the world. These are all foundational thoughts and feelings, meaning they're part of our identity. So those are things that we just are. We don't question every decision we make over the course of a day. And these are the ones that get they have deep roots. They're really in there. But the logic part, the part when something compelling comes along that forces you to question it, that comes with intention. It's not automatic. It comes with a purpose. Sorry for the not vegan friendly picture, but it is just photoshopped. So, but the author Jonathan Haidt, who is one of, I base a lot of what I'm doing on some of his work. But he uses this simile of the rider, which is, we're made up of this. The rider, which is logic, and the elephant, which is our gut. And what I'm suggesting is that you speak to the elephant first. Okay, so you don't speak to, this is what's true. You speak to, I hear what you're saying. I hear the elephant. So meaning, just to say a little, I've read a couple of books on this, and I know that it's a lot. But what he's trying to say is we're made up of this. So that we have our intuitive knowledge, and then we have our logical brains, right? So that we can think things through, and then make decisions based on that thought and based on evidence. We can collect evidence. Obviously, we have the capacity for logical thought. But if our gut wants something, the rider doesn't stand a chance. So if the elephant wants to go in a certain direction, you got to get the elephant on board. I had to come up with a better summary. Anyhow, so why do people believe wrong things, even with contradictory evidence? So there's just a strong social norm compliance. Okay, and, so social norms are not they're not inherently bad. They are a survival mechanism that keeps us bonded in community. So this is just the rules of the community. And we do need some social norms it's a survival thing. Socialization happens from the moment we're born, when we're taught all of the social norms, for the first in our family, and then the group is a wider and wider group. And they're just internalized when they become part of who we are. And those I refer to them as foundational beliefs. They're really in there in order to change them. It feels like it really feels like we're breaking down who we are, and people don't really jump on that unless they have something really compelling comes along. These norms are also just embedded into every institution. So as you, I'm sure, know, that these messages that tell us what our relationship with animals is and what our relationship with food is, those messages are everywhere. And consuming animals or using animals to meet what we eat, how we're entertained, just so many different science, and so on. For fashion, there's so many ways that we use animals, and that is totally normalized. So school lunches, so every institution has it's these norms are just part of the fabric of these institutions. And the nature of them makes it very difficult to change. And we follow them until we experience some kind of shift we can't deny. And if you are vegan or plant-based now, if you think back, you will be able to point to some things that helped you to shift. What seems obvious to me now was not obvious to me for most of my life. Okay. So social norms, that we can see this, that we know for sure the social norms are heavily weighted into the omnivore. Okay, so myself as a case study, what I would recommend that you do is that you take a personal history. So for 27 years of my life, I was an omnivore. And this is me here, this little baby, this little large-headed baby here. And I was raised by my Cuban grandparents and taught how to be a really good Cuban girl. That meant a lot of things. And then when I was 27, I learned what to eat. I learned what holidays to celebrate. I learned just everything, mostly from my grandmother. When I was 27, I had my first migraine attack, which led me to trying to find preventative measures, which led me to a yoga class, which led me to mindfulness, which led me to meeting my first vegetarian person and learning about ahimsa. And that was the compelling something that got in my way that helped me to shift. Okay. So had any of that not happened, I don't know. I don't know where I would be or how much I would have been delayed even more in becoming vegan. I think I still would have, but I don't know how that would have happened. This is the way it happened to me. So I ended up at that moment going pescatarian. And the only reason it wasn't vegetarian was because I had a boyfriend and he was a very committed omnivore. So I was still kind of in compliance with the social norms. I still wanted to be accepted, and I still want to be accepted. And I didn't want to be annoying. I didn't want to be strange. I didn't want to be outside of things. I wanted to still be part of things. So eventually, so that went on for a while, and then eventually I went vegetarian, and broke up with that guy, and then this is my period of life in marriage and motherhood, and then finally went vegan. Okay. There were so many things that happened here, and as I did this, as I looked at this, there are a few things that happened and I've done this exercise a few different times, but one is that as I looked back over my history, I felt a lot of compassion for myself. So as my older self looking back on my younger self, I felt a lot of compassion. And I acknowledged that at any given time, I made some terrible decisions and I made some good decisions. I had high points, like everybody out there. I had really high points, lots of them, and I had some low points. And I had one or two tragedies, like tragic points. And no matter what, at any given time, I acknowledged that I was doing the best that I could with what I had. So with whatever resources I had at that time, whether that was the support system that I had, the knowledge that I had, the maturity that I had, the challenges and obstacles that I had at any given time, I was doing the best I could. So why does that matter? Why does it matter for me to acknowledge that in my own life? Because when I understand that about myself, I can show up to conversations with people with more understanding and more patience. So just a moment, considering me as a case study, as let's say I was a person and you're a vegan or plant-based person trying to talk to me. Those years that I was not there, what was my openness to going vegan? Zero. Pescatarian? Zero. I was happily there. When I was vegetarian, was I open to going vegan? Nope, not even a little bit. Until I was. I was pretty closed off to going vegan until I was. If you would talk to me at any of these points, if you expected a shift from me, you wouldn't have seen it because there would have been an impact. There were many interventions, intentional and unintentional, that I had over these years that moved me, that helped move me in that direction. But you wouldn't have seen that. They wouldn't have been visible. My openness at any of these stages to talking about veganism, I would have talked to you no matter what because I would have been polite, because that's what I was taught, that was the social norm. But I wouldn't have changed my life in any way that you could have seen. And that did go up. Now it's out of 10. Okay. How nuts did I think it was to go vegan? So just being clear and honest. 10, I thought that was for extreme people. It wasn't for me. It didn't fit with my identity. I was a happy-go-lucky, go-with-the-flow kind of gal. I wasn't somebody who was going to be at that extreme. I softened a little bit with that over time, so I started to think it was less and less a crazy idea. But it was still pretty high, even when I was vegetarian. I was happily vegetarian. I had no intentions of changing until I did. And then now it seems like the most obvious thing to me now. So when not to bother, so there are times you can walk away from a conversation. The first thing is that anybody involved in the conversation is a willing participant. I'm just not going to get any. I don't want to have conversations where the other person isn't interested or on board with engaging. That's a waste of time and it's unpleasant. So the rule I live by is everyone walks away with their dignity intact. So the goal is never to become a better punching bag. So I don't take any kind of yelling or manipulation or demanding, and none of that. There's no finger whacking in my face. That's when I step back and step away. So you have the right to protect yourself from abuse. And I added, and even annoyance. So if you're finding yourself getting you're just feeling terrible with that conversation, and it's not something where you're just tolerating a little discomfort, you're really feeling bad, then you can step away from that. You can protect yourself. And then you work on that, and you process it, and you heal, and you do a lot of self-compassion and self-care. And then the next time that may be a different place for you. There are unhealthy systems, family systems, different systems, where members are just not able or willing to engage on any fair ground, and you don't have to pursue that. So when your boundaries are reached, or you're feeling overwhelmed, you just need a break. Okay. So just a quick review. So just if it makes sense to feel nervous and anxious, there doesn't mean there's anything wrong when you feel that. It's actually perfectly right. And if you tune into that, you can help to soothe, do some self-soothing, calm yourself. When you're engaged with somebody who holds a different worldview, then and you're the outlier, and you're the one pushing up against some social norms, that's a completely natural thing. And that energy from that can actually help you in the process of having these conversations. It feels vulnerable, which feels scary, but that's okay. That's more than okay. So understanding when forms are used and understanding your own history of how you got to where you are can help you to show up with greater compassion. And then just remember that what seems obvious to you now was not always obvious. And understanding does not imply agreement, and compassionate conversation satisfies universal human need that we have for connection. So that's what gives that, remembering that and knowing that has to give me the energy to continue. And a true connection allows you to be authentic, and healthy relationships allow for disagreement. Okay, so connection is an excellent it's an excellent foundation for advocacy, and it's okay to refrain from a conversation. So I do have just an issue for further discussion, something that always occurs to me, and it's not that something I have an answer for, it's just something that I throw out to the community to explore more, and that is that some days it feels like too much to expect of myself to have this calm and compassionate discourse when there's so much suffering. And it's what we all kind of hold, right, that there's a lot of pain involved in this. And if there was a magic wand or something I could do to just end all unnecessary suffering, I think I would use that on a day, right away. That doesn't exist, and I know how going plant-based or going vegan represents an evolution. It represents growth, and growth just isn't fast. It's just evolution just isn't fast. So I feel, knowing that, I feel motivated to stay present and stay as patient as I can and as compassionate as I can, so that I can keep these important conversations open and happening. So. And I think that's all. I think I'll have some resources which will share this, right? Peter will share this slideshow. People will be able to see this later. But
Yes. So, yeah, the static has gotten really bad, and I think probably everybody's abandoned us at this point. So, yeah. So, I'm going to assume that this recording will be taken down and we'll replace it with a different recording. But and just for our test here, what browser are you using?
I'm using Firefox.
You're using Firefox because that was
that I used when I tested it before. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's just end this here.
Before you didn't have a static issue, right?
Right. I think so. Yeah, we need to end this, and anybody who's watching and still with us, we will reschedule. Perhaps one of the things going on here is that since your partner couldn't join us, she's not well, Suzanne's not well, and we intended for her to be with us. So maybe what we need to look at is redoing this event once she can join us. So anybody watching this or listening in, please watch for a new date. This presentation, Anne, has been really phenomenal, and unfortunately the static is too much. We had a wonderful audience that maybe a dozen people, and they've left us because of the static. So
I can't blame them either. And it's funny, the best way plans, right, because we did test this several times and I didn't have this problem.
Yeah.
Right before this started, we were testing it.
Yeah. You know what? So if you'd like to, let's try one more thing, Ann. I'll stay here, and you go ahead and reboot your computer and see if the static goes away. And then maybe we can still have a conversation. I'm not sure how many people we. It looks like we have 4 people logged in at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you do that and
So
come
I'm going
back in,
to leave, and then I'm going to come back in. I'm going to redo, and then go back in.
reboot and come back.
Might
All
take a
right.
minute.
Thanks. So if you're watching, we've had some technical difficulties, and Anne's microphone computer, some component on her end was causing a huge amount of static. I assume that you're not hearing any static now. Um, if you are listening to me at this point, could you please comment and let me know if you're hearing me clearly or if you hear any static? That would help us isolate where the static was coming from and being Anne's. But if you're hearing static as I'm speaking, then we know that perhaps the problem is with StreamYard or somewhere else. Please type in your comment whether or not you're hearing static. And nobody's commenting, so maybe nobody's really with us, just kind of listening in the background, because I do see that there's what looks like we should have 3 people on at this point. So this is Anna's rebooting her computer just to see what we get. And if anybody's listening, I want you to know that this is a really excellent presentation. Anne has such a wonderful message, and we will reschedule for her and her partner Suzanne to redo the presentation. I look forward to it. It's a wonderful, excuse me, a wonderful presentation, and I want to thank everybody who's taken time to join us. I know we lost most of our audience here. We were building a pretty nice audience early on till the static started. So if anybody's really there, please type in a comment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And it looks like Anne is back in. Hello again, Anne.
Okay, how's this?
Okay, I don't hear any static now.
Go figure.
Go figure. I think it's all about Suzanne needing to be part of this.
You think so?
Yes. So Third Act Arizona is I asked people, and while you were off, to comment whether they hear static when I was speaking, and Third Act Arizona says no static from me, and now I don't hear any static from you either.
Okay.
So, Anne, I personally have time. We will want to re-record this, and
Yeah.
I think our options are I'm available to re-record now,
Mm-hmm.
but perhaps we should just schedule another time when Suzanne can join us.
Yeah, that's fine with me. And also, it might give the whatever you said, there were other people who left during with the static. Can't blame them. So we could give people an opportunity to join again. Whatever you think, Peter. I'm good to go now, or we can
Yeah,
reschedule.
yeah, I think everybody's left us except for Third Act Arizona, and Third Act Arizona. I would love to know who you are, uh, and uh, and and engage with you. So yes, that's what we'll do is watch for us to reschedule it. We'll do that right away. Early next week, we'll get everybody together and find a time to reschedule. How's Suzanne doing? Is she
She's
okay? Is she
she's she's okay. She was just feeling under the weather, and I'm hopeful that she'll be feeling better in a couple days.
perfect? So then early next week, we'll look at rescheduling for later next week during the week. if that's okay with you, Anne and Suzanne, let's all see when everybody's available to reschedule it, and perhaps schedule it when we can get a little bit of time to promote it again. So it's John Thompson from Sedona. Well, hello, John. Uh,
Hi, John.
I Yes, thanks for being part of this. Boy, I wish we could bring you on live. Would love to have a conversation with you and find out about your work. I don't recognize knowing you. What's is your organization Third Act Arizona? Are you part of our Facebook groups? Are we friends on Facebook? I really would like to learn what you're doing, and part of it is selfish. I love Sedona, and actually, I was in Sedona for 10 days back in December. Caught that snow that came in December, and it was so magnificently beautiful in the Red Rocks, and heavy snow on the vegetation. Your group is just getting formed. Well, and we will be happy to support you with your group. Um, Type in a little something about your group. Um, and also, we're very interested in what your personal passion is, as we're growing a community that's where the chapters in our organization, as it were, will be topic based. So we're looking to support people with specific passions and bring together community around topics and passions to support each other and support all the other ambassadors. Oh, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Um, Healthy World Sedona and Veg Fest for 4 years. That's awesome. Well, please make sure that we connect. If we're not Facebook friends, John, please reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you uh, and bring you into our community. Like I said, we're looking to support everybody. We are creating a platform to amplify everybody's passions and voice. So uh, we'll look forward to working with you and hearing more about what your work is. A way for uh, HWS, and we did it to collaborate. Yeah, yeah. Let's certainly talk about it. Collaboration is all about what we're here for. So please reach out to me, probably via Facebook, or I would love to hear you via email. What happened here? I wanted to type in my email address. You can email me at peterg@wedidit.health.
Now, Climate
So
Healers is out in Arizona. Is that right, Peter?
yes, absolutely. And I misspelled that. So Peter G at, not Peter G2. Yes. So Climate Healers is in Phoenix, and John, you may know Salish. They're headquartered out of Phoenix. Perfect. So John, I look forward to your email. Um, you love Salish. Who doesn't love Salish? He's so amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah. Now, Peter,
I,
quick question for you, because I was reading some of the comments about the sound, but I see it's a feedback problem on my end, but any knowledge about why it would just happen sometimes?
you know what? Are you using a microphone?
I'm using whatever the computer has. I don't have an
Oh,
external microphone.
yeah. So, and you rebooted. So it could be hardware, it could be software. So when you rebooted, maybe there was, software is so complex. There could be an incompatibility, something, some bits and bytes crossed each other and had a little war. I think that kind of happens sometimes. But if you were using an
on plant-based. They're non-vegan bits and bites.
They're non-vegan bits and bites,
Persevering.
so they fight with each other.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm happy to do it again.
So we'll do it again. And John, do you have any questions for Anne? We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
An echo problem in the room. But John, right now, am I sounding okay to you? Because, you know, rebooting may have done the trick. But...
Yeah, in which case it was probably a software thing.
Yeah. All right, well, now we know.
Now we know. That was so unfortunate, and it'll give us the opportunity to have Suzanne join us. So
yeah,
and perfect.
Yeah. So an echo. So really, I just have to make a little sound studio here.
There you go.
I'm happy to do that. I think it's time I do that anyway.
That's right. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, headphones will help. Headphones for the echo. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, John, if you're complete, I am. Anne, are you complete?
I think so for now, but you know, to be continued for sure.
Absolutely. Our team will look at rescheduling the date. And John, I'll make sure that we'll have an email conversation. And I'll make sure that you have the date for the new presentation, probably late next week. So with that, thank you, everybody. And John, so if you're great friends with Salish, you've probably seen the secret handshake, I call it, as Namaste Vegan. So be well, everybody. Be well, Anne and John. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.